to protect Anthony? Come on. It's more than likely there may be some truth in that. If there is, clearly he should be fired. We'll talk about that a little more. And I think the school board should be recalled, or they should resign. They violated the state law by not getting a record check on Anthony before hiring him. And as well as Milton. We don't know what's in Milton's record. Maybe probably nothing, but we haven't seen it yet. If there's nothing in there, why was he trying to put it off? Other than that, maybe he did know what Anthony's record was. And then they get you know, it says here Milton was slow to get to get printed, that is, to find his record so it could be checked, his fingerprint so it could be checked. And then they have this thing here, I think it's on this page, where it talks about, oh yeah, board, here it is. Board satisfied with Milton's work in 205-206. See, they say all this stuff arose after they had given him his rating. Well, re-rate him. I mean, just look at this. He gets leadership out of 4 points, 3.4. Curriculum and instruction. That was Mr. Anthony's. 3.4. Assignment, organizational management. 3.4. Parent involvement, community relations. 3.4. Fiscal management. 3.1. Professional development, 3.3. Overall performance, 3.3. Now that's outrageous. You know, how can you come to that conclusion? Now you have a board making the evaluation. What's the board evaluating? The board is evaluating, we did a good job in picking out Milton. Listen, there ought to be some outside group to come in and make that judgment, especially with all these problems that have developed. Or they should go back now and reevaluate him. Because next year when they evaluate him, they'll try to keep this aside. And by then a lot of this would, maybe they hope, would die down. But we'll have that guy for another year at least, and probably more. And they as I say, fail to follow up on Anthony. The law requires that Anthony's record be checked, and they didn't do it. You know, here we have, and there's no question, or there's no evidence that they are doing anything about this. What are they doing about this Anthony? Did they put the information in this file? That'd be interesting to find out. You see, this has kind of the earmarks, unfortunately, of the George Crear case. Remember that case? This was a nationally known case because it was so outrageous what happened here. This was a teacher at Whittier School that sexually assaulted over a number of years 12, 13, and 14-year-old girls. When it was learned, the school board, this had to be in the late 70s, early 80s, the school board takes the guy in and says, look, here's the deal. If you resign, we won't put this information in your personnel file. And we'll never disclose it unless somebody asks specifically about the information. In other words, school district says, hey, did this Crear sexually assault 13, 14, and 15-year-old girls, 12-year-old girls at Whittier School? Who's going to ask that question? They don't even know it. So they make this deal not to put it in his record. So when he goes for another school job in Florida, they sinned up for the record, and it doesn't show that he'd been fired or that he resigned under pressure because he was assaulting young girls. Goes right down there and does the same thing again. Assaults young girls, 12, 13, 11, at this new school district in Florida, because they hired him because the Flint school system didn't have that information that they should have had in the record. They just got rid of the problem and sent it to some other community where he could assault young girls. And he did that down there. He was prosecuted for that. Then one young girl that was involved down there with him committed suicide because apparently of the humiliation of what happened to her. People down there said that was the reason she did. She couldn't accept the humiliation. Now what are we doing here? Are we doing the same thing with this Anthony that we did with Creer? The Creer case, you know, it made a fool of us all over the United States because we allowed this to happen. The school board never informed the prosecutor about this. Never informed them. And because of that, I'm convinced the prosecutor would have done something. He wouldn't allow this deal that was made with the devil go through. I'm convinced of that. But let's take, for example, that the school board doesn't resign or isn't recalled. The question is, can they sit on their hands and do nothing about this Anthony? They have to actively impose themselves to make sure he can't go someplace else and continue to prey upon youngsters. What have they done? We haven't heard they did anything. I mean, the Atlanta prosecutor did a disservice to us